Hey guys, Josh from soccerreviewsforyou.com, bringing you a video today to discuss something that I think is a pretty interesting question, and that is, are Adidas soccer cleats / football boots too gimmicky? And what I mean by this is not that the shoes are bad, but it's the fact that they're designing shoes seemingly based on shock value and making something different for the sake of being different, not necessarily for the sake of being better. Now, obviously, everyone's gonna have their own opinion on this, and I have talked about this on my channel before. I made a video talking about the 5 things that I hate about Adidas soccer cleats, and I talk a little bit about this topic in general. If you wanna check that video out, I'll leave a little pop-up on screen. I think it's pretty interesting, but for the sake of this video, the reason why I'm asking this question again in kind of an independent video format is not so much because of my opinion, but because of the visible opinion of professional players endorsed by the Adidas brand. Let me explain. You have your flagship models amongst Adidas boots right now. The 3 main lines, excluding the Copa 17.1, because those aren't being worn by any endorsed players because Adidas chooses not to have them wear that stuff. But you have the X line, the Ace line, and the Messi line. The Messi line is obviously exclusive to Messi for the most part, at least when you're talking about really big name players. He's the only one wearing it. You have the X line and you have the Ace line with a lot of big name players kind of headlining those 2 lines of shoes as well. So what I'm getting at is this. Let's start with the X line as an example. You have the X 16.1 and you have the X 16 Plus Pure Chaos as the 2 top end models. There's a leather variation of the X 16.1 as well, but by far the flagship model, the one that you see in all of the Adidas marketing, is the X 16 Plus Pure Chaos. If it's being advertised in pictures, if it's being worn by a professional player because of the launch of a new colorway, it's always going to be the X 16 Plus Pure Chaos and not the 16.1 or the models below it, if you will. So I would say amongst consumers, the more desirable of the 2 shoes, the 16.1 and the 16 Plus, is the Pure Chaos variation. That's the one that most people want. I would say that's the one that most people prefer. If you're asking me, I do personally prefer the Pure Chaos over the 16.1, but when you look at professional players, and I'm not speaking for every single one, but a lot of the big name guys, you look at Suarez, you look at Bale, you look at Robin, that's just to name a couple really big names, they choose not to wear the Pure Chaos. They're wearing the 16.1, some of them heavily customized variations of that shoe, which again, isn't necessarily a worrying thing. Pros are gonna like certain things, but that's just one example. Go to the Ace line now. Obviously the flagship and most desirable, probably the most popular shoe in the Adidas brand right now is the Ace 17 Plus Pure Control, the laceless boot. And when that shoe first came out, there were actually a surprising amount of players wearing it. With that being said, we've seen that kind of slowly decline as that line has continued on, and we're seeing a lot more players, at least based on what I've seen, wearing the Ace 17.1 Prime Knit or even the Ace 17.1 leather rather than the Pure Control, when even though the Pure Control is by far the most popular amongst average consumers, but a lot of professional players don't want to wear it. Now, I've talked about the Pure Control many times on this channel. I'm not a big fan of the laceless system in general. I think from an objective performance standpoint, it quite simply is not as good as the Ace 17.1 Prime Knit, which is essentially the exact same boot with a lacing system. And I think something that a lot of people don't necessarily consider with the Pure Control and professional players, you got Pogba, you got Ozil, you got Ivan Rakitic wearing these shoes, just to name a couple. And they are professional players who obviously are Adidas endorsed athletes, and they're getting custom variations of these boots. Not necessarily in terms of the construction of the upper, it very well may be different on the inside, we don't really know, but I can guarantee you that they're getting custom fitted shapes to the upper itself, where the shoe is essentially molded around their foot as opposed to buying them out of the store and hoping that they fit your foot shape as good as they possibly can. Obviously with a laceless system, you don't have adjustability, and that's kind of the main flaw here, is that most people will put them on, the average consumer, and it might feel okay, but is it really the best fit? 9 times out of 10, it isn't. So obviously professional players wearing this, Yeah, that's something. I guess that's some credit to the technology, but the vast majority are choosing not to wear the Pure Control, which again is the most popular amongst consumers. And then lastly, let's talk about Messi with his line. The 16 Plus, obviously the Pure Agility variation is the one you see in all the marketing material, but he very clearly chooses to wear a variation of the 16.1, the model below it. I made a video on this not too long ago. You may or may not have seen it. I'll leave a pop-up on screen. Go ahead and check it out. So what am I getting at with all of these examples? What I'm getting at is that if the pros don't want to wear these flagship models, why should we be so excited about them? Why should we be kind of picking those as the most desirable shoes? I think that if you're going to have these different lines and you're going to have your flagship $300 models, and that's the only one that you're going to advertise in the majority of your marketing material, that should be the one that not only the pros want to wear, but because the pros want to wear it, we should want to wear it, which that is not the case. If it's not good enough for the pros, if they don't want that product, why should we want it so bad? And that's really the point that I'm raising with this particular topic. Are Adidas boots getting too gimmicky? Because I would argue that there's a lot of things about the current top-end $300 models from Adidas, not to say that they're bad, because I think the Pure Chaos is great. I'm not crazy about the Pure Agility, and I'm not crazy about the Pure Control in all honesty either, but there's a lot of things that are quite simply unnecessary and there for the sake of shock value, something to be different from everything else, but not necessarily better. And I think with a big brand like Adidas, we are expecting them to put out the best possible products, not products that are just shocking and necessarily, I guess, they're valuing the interesting aspect rather than the performance aspect, and that's not how high-end soccer shoes should be, in my opinion. Of course, your opinion may be a little bit different, but that's kind of what I wanted to talk about in the video. If the pros don't want to wear these top-end $300 models, why should we? So let me know your thoughts on this down below in the comment section. If you have any questions on this topic as well, leave them down below for me, and I definitely will try to answer all of your questions. If you enjoyed today's video, found it interesting, be sure to support it with a like. If you have any questions, any video suggestions, for me, leave those down below in the comments as well, and I definitely will take a look at what you guys have to say. Subscribe if you haven't already for daily videos on all the latest and greatest soccer gear. You can find all my social media information linked down below in the description as well. And other than that, guys, hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, thanks for watching.